one of the biggest reasons a lot of people don't get the traction that they need in sales is they believe that everyone should deal at the first hurdle, and it's so far from the truth. A lot of people think that, you know, we get a lead or we speak to a landlord that they should instantly just deal with us. But you know, as you know yourself, you know, even if you just think back to the last thing that you purchased of any sort of sizable value, like what was the process you went through before buying it? I guarantee it wasn't the first thing on the first day that you decided you were going to, you know, you might have thought about it, you might have researched it, you might have Googled some competition, checked out some prices, and then eventually, you know, read a few reviews maybe, and you end up where you are. So the, if we just go through these slides, has everyone got them on the Slack channel? So this is something that I learned when I was on Grant's mentorship, and something that I've worked not only hard on in this industry, but in my previous role running the garages with like 130 staff. This was one of the things that I really embedded into the sales departments of all the 5 garages and really got some, you know, really good results with. And it's definitely something I've mentioned that I've done and continue to do. And, you know, I've got Josh and Reese and all the boys, they're all doing, and the girls in Dubai, you know, they're all on this model. And what I want to do is build it out. But just to kind of go through it. So on the coffee chat on Slack, I just put a PDF in there. So the number one rule of selling is always agree. Never ever disagree with a customer. Like, even if you do disagree, just agree, and then, you know, maybe move on to a different topic. You should present numbers to everybody. So everybody that we're, you know, wanting to try and take a property from, we should be giving an offer to. I say it all the time, you know, even if it's the stupidest offer, they're wanting $2,000 a month, you only can make it stack at $1,000. Just put $1,000 in, just make the offer. You just never know. Options give people choices and allow you to use inventory to negotiate. So this is where we'll kind of say, like, would you want a fixed guarantee, or do you want a management style solution? So you're giving them the option, and whatever they choose is typically what they would suit them in their mind, and therefore, you know, you still win a deal of some sort. When you try and push your agenda, you end up coming away empty-handed more often than not. So, you know, it's always good to try and just fit within their agenda. Bring third party as second phase to add additional service value. What we do in this instance is, you know, we're talking about air DNA data, things like that. That's our third party. You got to remember, these slides were written quite some time ago. So, you know, the whole COVID sort of flexibility kind of working environment stuff is not really changed. But I think a lot of this is still very, very valuable. Capitalize on the second sale. So, you know, once you've actually made a sale or you've agreed a deal, capitalize on trying to get that extra property or that extra, you know, for us, as we were talking before about upsells on, you know, not just your stays, what else can we get them to buy? How else can we, you know, leverage our money from the properties? So just scroll down. There's a few simple things that I think you have to do. One is, you know, if they've got 5-minute follow-up here, I think that time frame's changed. I think it needs to be 60 seconds. The minute a lead comes in, you should be, you know, at least getting in touch with them, ideally ringing and then sending them a text as well. You want to make sure that, you know, we are, you know, speaking to the customer within the first hour. Again, I think that's too long. I think it's got to be within minutes. And then what we want to do is have a, you know, robust follow-up sequence that not only covers, so if we actually just skip down to the importance of follow-up, which I don't know what slide number it is, 30, I think it is. So as you can see here, 2% of all sales are made on the first contact, 3% of all sales are made on the second, all the way down to 80% of sales are made between contact 5 and 12. Yeah, most people expect to deal on the first or second attempt, but really we're saying, like, that's when they're definitely not going to deal on those. but most people are not consistent enough to stay with the process and the follow-up because they're not very creative in what they do. And that's where we're going to, come on to design it. But, follow-up is defined as something that continues or completes a process or activity. Work is not an activity, but the completion of a purpose to the desired end result. The reality of lead conversion, 73% of business-to-business leads are not sales ready. 50% of qualified leads are not ready. So, when we're talking about driving leads into your businesses, most of them are not actually going to be ready to move. It's then what we do from that point onwards to educate them and build the trust that creates that readiness and gets them into a position that they want to then, deal with us. But, as I say to my teams all the time, like everybody will buy eventually. And, as it says here, 100% of all leads convert, and they do. If you stick with it long enough, they will become a customer. It could be a month, it could be a year, it could be 10 years. But the thing is, you'll stick with them long enough, they will become a customer if they have initially entered as a lead. Why do you want to nurture leads? Quite simple, because no one else does. So you're gaining a massive instant advantage over your competition. It's the right thing to do. And if you don't, you'll slip into obscurity. So people will forget who you are. If you're not constantly on someone's radar, they're going to forget who you are. And therefore, when they go, think about it yourself. So if every single week, someone's dropping in your inbox about renting your property, yeah, you might not be ready, but then let's say 2-3 months down the line, you are actually ready. You're going to remember that person that's constantly in your inbox. Chances are you're going to go to your inbox and you're going to send them an email saying, I've got a property to rent now. In fact, I literally had one this morning, which I sent to Josh to deal with. Where are we at? Here we go. So house to let Sunderland. I've just been advised that my tenant at so-and-so address is vacating towards Christmas. It's a 3-bed terrace. Would you be interested? That's just because we're constantly following up. So it's easy for them to just go into their inbox and email us because they remember, then go find Google rent guarantee company, or I need a tenant, or search for an estate agent and start the whole process off again. But if you don't continue to follow up and give them the information, then they're never gonna get there. Follow up in the first 60 seconds and you will have almost a 500% increase in conversion. I knew that stat was somewhere. And it is so true. There's nothing more powerful than someone submitting a lead on a lead form and getting a call within seconds of like, hey, you've just submitted on Facebook. Like, Jesus Christ, that's quick. First to follow up has 248% greater chance of converting versus the second or the third person, which shows you how important it is to be first and why you should get on that phone quickly. 37% of businesses respond in the first hour, which means 73% or 63% of businesses are responding outside of an hour, which is just terrible. But it makes our job easy if we are good at it. 7 times more likely to have a meaningful conversation with a decision maker if you're the one that contacted them first. 35 to 50% of all sales go to the last company to follow up because so many companies don't follow up. I've seen this in the car trade's the worst, but it's also the best learning environment to try and perfect things, because a customer will walk through the showroom doors, and if they don't buy a car there and then, the sales exec might ring them once and say, have you made a decision? They'll say, no, not yet. And that'll pretty much be follow-up done. Yet those that stick with them time and time and time again will end up getting that car sale. And, I've seen it over and over again. And it's the same with, even when I was out, sourcing properties, I got more of my properties through the follow-up weeks and weeks and weeks after the viewings, because I just stuck with it. And quite often I wouldn't get the property that I went to view because it had maybe been rented, but then another one had come up with that landlord. So then I'd get the shot at that one as well, because you're just constantly in their face. So one thing that is one thing that I think is powerful and is underused is the multiple forms of communication. So you shouldn't just communicate once. So say, for example, a lead comes into our system. Their protocol for the team is to call it within 60 seconds. They call the lead, and if they don't get through, they'll then WhatsApp them and also email them to say, hey, I left you a voicemail. They'll leave the voicemail as well. Similarly, if you want to send an email to somebody, you text them and tell them you've sent them an email. You might even ring them as well and say, hey, by the way, I've sent you an email. It's all so every bit of contact that you want to do, you should always try and do it in multiple ways between text, email, and phone. And it just, even if you want to send them, a blog, you might send them the blog by email, or you might tag them on LinkedIn. You might text them, say, I've tagged you in the blog on LinkedIn. It's just about getting yourself into that position. You remember, most people buy on 5 to 12 follow-ups. That doesn't mean it needs to be 12 days. That just means it needs to be 12 follow-ups. What's a follow-up? And we're going to come on to that, is how can you do follow-ups, and how can you, be creative so that you're not being a pest and annoying somebody and you're putting them off. You're actually doing it in a way that is very creative, and it will get the results. So why don't people, buy or engage? Lack of time, personal issues, concerns about the cost, change of, maybe ownership or decision maker, not the decision maker, they're on the wrong product or service, or they're just not ready to engage. So sometimes you are doing everything right, but there's just one of these reasons that's bubbling away in the background, which they're maybe not telling you about as to why they're not wanting to commit. Like Martin's example before, a landlord agreed something and now has backed out. It'll be because one of these reasons. So has the decision maker changed? So he was maybe once the decision maker, now he's not. Maybe he's brought on a business partner and they've said, we don't want to do that anymore. You just don't know until you investigate. But at the end of the day, you're responsible, regardless of what the reason is, to still get that deal. You're responsible to find out what that reason is and then solve that problem by building, more trust and credibility around the reason and what we're trying to achieve. So in terms of follow-up mistakes, 48% of salespeople don't make the call. And even this morning, I had to rein, my lot in, because we've got quite an influx of lead flow in the last week or two compared to the last few months. And they're starting to be a bit overwhelmed. So they're like, oh, I think we're just going to text every lead first. I'm like, no, that's the wrong. You don't shortcut it, because you're actually going to reduce the result. You've got to ring every lead first. A phone call, a personal voice is still so much more powerful than a WhatsApp or an email. So you've still got to ring every single lead first. 48% of people don't. So that means half your competition, you're already wiping out the water by just picking the phone up. You're increasing your chances by 500% by doing it within 60 seconds. So it's all about these just like small wins to just make sure that we're, making sure that we're doing the most of the leads. 5 to 12 calls, not 1 or 2, is what you need to think for follow-up. So again, I think, you're more towards 8 to 12 nowadays. There's that much competition. There's that much stuff going on, busy environments. So, if you've not spoken to someone 12 times, you're probably more than likely not going to get, the deal over the line. Same for your estate agent, same for, everything that we've talked about this morning in terms of the different angles, your LinkedIn customers or your prospecting, all that sort of stuff, they all fall into the same category. So be consistent and regular. The odds of contacting a lead decrease 10 times in the first hour. So if you wait too long, your chances are of even getting hold of them is next to nothing. Reason being, they're probably already speaking to our competitors. They've probably already decided on, another solution, and therefore they don't feel like they need you anymore. So won't want to waste their time by answering the call or the text or getting into it. The lack of variety of reasons to call probably prevents you from calling. So you run out of reasons to follow up. We're going to build an arsenal out in a bit, and that'll show you, that there is plenty of creativity to be able to do that. The worst thing you can do is just constantly call, again, bringing it back to the sort of motor trade. have you made a decision yet? Have you made a decision yet? Have you made a decision yet? So then they see the garage number ringing. Well, I know what he's going to fucking ask me, so I haven't made a decision yet, so I'm not going to answer that call. But if you're being creative in all of your different calls and your messaging and your emails and your stuff, then they don't know what you're going to say. So there's intrigue there of, okay, I'll answer that call. When you're boring and the same, that's when you hit the roadblock and the dead end. If you've got no clear purpose on the call, so you call without a reason, it'll become, annoying. No one likes their time to be wasted these days. So you want to make sure that you are. Always leave a message, always leave a message, and obviously collect data. One thing that probably don't do enough of, and it can be a follow-up strategy, is ask them for a referral. Doesn't matter whether you've done business with them or not. If you've been engaging with them and adding value to them over a course of, a number of weeks, there's no harm in just ringing and saying, hey, by the way, do you know anyone else that's got any property to rent? I'll give you a referral fee, or let's do a deal together, whatever. Or even just ask, people do like to help other people once they've got that sort of relationship built up. So not being organized to store the data. Again, this is where kind of CRM tools, do come in. So if we just go back to the top-ish, what you have is a slide number 22. What you have is a 365-day follow-up sequence. And what I get each of my sales team to do is actually so for the first 14 days, it's very heavy, like literally a contact every day. So for the first 14 days, from receiving the lead or connecting with them on LinkedIn or whatever channel it is, it's very heavy on information. You want to try and really cement yourself in there. You're going to try and get those 12 touch points out of the way so that you can try and get the deal over the line. After that, it becomes a bit less. So you go like day 21, day 30, then it's every 10 days until you get to day 75. Then it's every 15 days. So you're kind of then extending the period, what we call put them into long-term nurture. Nothing is ever a closed lead, unless it's a pure junk lead where some little kids filled it out on mom and dad's iPad. It is a lead that will deal eventually if we follow up properly. So the principle here, day one is, just a phone call. I've had a great idea, give me a call back, or, I've got something that I think's worth sharing with you. Please, can you give me a call? That might be the voicemail that you leave. And day two, this is kind of old school stuff, but, write a handwritten letter, follow up by a text and an email. So you're not waiting for the letter to hit the post. You're just saying, I've sent the letter, and you might text and say, hey, just let you know I've sent your letter. It's not really about the content in the letter. We're not trying to pitch them anything. We're just kind of trying to get into conversation with them. One of the best things that I think, is it on? It's that one. So day two, again, you might text, email, call, or voicemail, and just, come up with a reason. Hey, I just want to make sure I've got the right address for you. I want to send you something in the post. It's just, again, another contact attempt. We're not asking them to buy anything. We're not asking them to do anything. They might say, well, what you want to send me? And you say, I just want to send you a contract, like, or a template of our management contract, just so you can have a read over it and see if we're a good fit. Well, tell me about it over the phone. And then you're into conversation with them. It's again, it's not about what you actually want to do. It's about just trying to engage them into conversation. A video, text, or email. So, you might just shoot a video. Hey, it's Ryan, just want to put a face to a name. Obviously we haven't met yet, but this is what we do. And, or you might just keep it very casual. Hey, just want to put a face to a name. Hope you well. Was thinking of you earlier. So hopefully we can engage in some business further down the line. This is me. And just send it, WhatsApp, video, email, text, doesn't really matter. All right. The idea is you just contacting them. Personal visit, hey, any chance I can pop down and, sit down for a coffee in the agency, or have a chat, or is any time, I can come to the office and just have a chat. Can we meet in one of your properties just so I can have a look around? Is there anything, again, even if you said, I've even done this in my policy in the States. I'm like, listen, I'm more than happy to fly out and meet your team. They don't take you up on it. It's just another way to get into a conversation. They're like, oh no, Ryan, you don't need to do that. Let's just jump on a Zoom. Right, fine. Let's jump on a Zoom. Another touch point, another, thing in the book. So this thought of you follow-up is really, really powerful. So I've done this in a couple of ways. One, I used to send I used to go and buy a lottery ticket and get the team to buy lottery tickets, and anybody that was potentially buying a half decent car with like decent profit across it, we'd send them a lottery ticket in the post, and we'd just write, hopefully when you win the lottery, you'll come and buy that car. And we'd like put the reg of the car or what type of car it was. And nearly every single time they'd ring up, book an appointment, come in and buy the car. Because it was just like, they were already wanting to buy the car, but they maybe going to other people, but it was just that like nice thought of you. Done other ones where, yeah. And then, yeah, you know, you could put lottery ticket, like, you know, hey, hopefully when you win the lottery, you might change your mind and rent me your property. Yeah. You know, or you might buy a property for me to manage, or you might buy a property for me to rent, you know. So there's all sorts of, you know, weird ways. The cost of a quid, you know, it's that real extra touch that no one else is doing. There's also just things like, you know, I've done things where I have, you know, maybe viewed a property on the street before, and then the next week I might have been back at the street or nearby, and I would just go past the property and take a picture. Or if you're really clever about what you do is, before the landlord gets there, you take a picture of the property, and then a week later you say, hey, I've just walked past your property again and I thought of you, and you just send them it. They don't know whether you have or you haven't. It's just, again, another touch point just to go back in, and then they might be like, all right, yeah, I haven't really thought about it, but yeah, let's engage. Come on, let's try and do a deal, and let's get it back out. So, so what you want to do is kind of like build out your 14-day sequence for your different strategies. So you might have a different sequence for rent to rent, that you might have for management, that you might have for your real estate reach outs. You know, each one is a different stage. Just put it on a Google sheet, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 14, and say, right, on day 1 of that type of lead, I'm going to do that. On day 2, I'm going to do that. And then it is just a simple case of coming in each day and going, right, they're at stage 3 now, so I need to send them that. They're on day number 7 now, I need to send them that. And what you'll find is, your time efficiency will massively improve, because you're not wasting time thinking about doing things. And over time, you'll end up storing these things on templates, and, you know, you'll have the words written out already on Google Docs and things like that. So you can just cut and paste, bang, send, cut and paste text, bang, send, move on to the next client. And then what happens is then your phone starts to come back in, or your email box starts to come back in of engagement, and you're going into conversation flow with them. But even that might die off a bit, you know. So then you go back in tomorrow, day 5 is that creative follow-up, bang, send, that creative. So then what you want to do is then get to, you know, your sort of your different days. So, you know, just some of these, again, as you see, kind of regurgitating a few things like video email rather than a video text, you know, thinking about you again, a special offer. So you might have, you know, listen, we'll give you 25% commission on this one rather than 20%, but it's only available till, you know, next week. Sometimes you can go for a direct pitch every now and then to try and bring them out. Can we jump on a call and get my manager involved, or I can get whatever involved, you know, just someone more senior, whatever it might look like. There's so many different things. This day 240, which is the apology contact, again, is one of the best ones I've ever used. I'll just scroll. If you go down to, 71. So if you're not hearing back from them for quite some time, or they just seem to be ghosting every single follow-up that you've done, just text them that, hey, I'm just wondering what went wrong. Like obviously I've tried to reach you a few times and you've not got back to me. You've got to be a proper dickhead not to reply to somebody if they send that to you. And you will get a massive engagement and response rate by sending that. And again, it just reignites. They'll tell you what you did wrong, or they'll say, oh, you haven't done anything wrong. It's just me. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet, but you'll more than likely get some form of information out of them that you can then use to try and then restart the whole process again and get back through the door. So, you know, you can, you know, we just scroll back up the different types. So you've got text, so you can text in different ways. You can email. I don't like email. I think it's rubbish. I think it's, you know, most go into spam. Most people don't read them. But at the same time, it takes seconds to do them, and some people do actually open them. So it's no love lost, really. I would just always follow an email up with a text to say, I've sent you an email. I'm just sending it in case it's gone into your junk folder. I'm just letting you know. Handwritten letters, very sort of personal. And I think if you've got a, you know, if you meet a portfolio landlord, or you've got a property that you really, really want, just write them a nice handwritten letter. You just never know how it'll go down, but more than likely it'll be received very well. Personal visits, literally just turn up, probably more so for kind of like real estate agencies, just not like just literally turning up and sitting down. Hey, so-and-so in, you know, I've been speaking to you on LinkedIn, and, you know, thought, you know, I was in the area, I thought I'd pop in. Gimmicks, again, you know, there's plenty of gimmicks that I'm pretty sure you can think of, whether it's just a daft GIF, or it's you know, a stupid TikTok video that might be relatable to you know, your client, or what they're interested in. You know, they could be interested in golf, and there's a really funny TikTok video about golf, and you just send them it. Again, it could be a bit of a two-pronged attack of, you know, I saw this and thought of you, but also it's a bit of a gimmicky type one. Apology contact, cell phone video messages. So again, as it says there, the average person reads 1 book a year, but watches 750 videos. I'd say that's probably double by now. So keep it short though, 30 seconds. Just send them a little, hey, it's me, you know, and just checking in, or, you know, just following up to see if you've had any ideas on this, or whatever. Social media reach, we kind of talked about that earlier on LinkedIn, where you just go on and comment on one of their posts, or it might be on Facebook, or, you know, whatever channels they're on, just like commenting on it and just giving it, you know, feedback and thoughts, or congratulating them on something that you've seen online. Photo images, again, you know, you can send, you know, images, newsletters and blogs, which is why I've kind of, you know, trying to double down a bit on the blog writing, is to get the content up on the website so you can actually pull them. Another one is you don't always have to use company blogs. So like one of the follow-up sequences that I've set for the real estate program is I went and found a blog which was on Forbes about multiple revenue streams and how vital it is for diversification in a business to survive. I mean, it was written in like 2019, but I just cut and paste the URL, and as part of the follow-up on, I think, day 4, it is very much, hey, I've just read this and you sprung to mind, so I thought I'd send you it. I think you'll enjoy it. You know, idea is they're going to read that, see, all right, diverse, you know, okay, extra income, all right, well, that's what this kid's offering, so, you know, let's maybe take that a bit further. So you don't always have to use company blogs. You can just literally go and find something that's relevant. You know, so it could be, you know, statistics on whatever, how many tenants actually don't pay, or, you know, there's loads of stuff. You just got to get creative. Testimonials, again, don't be afraid of just sending someone, hey, you know, this is the type of stuff that's happening here, there, you know, if you want a part of it, let us know. Or even just sending the testimonial, don't even saying anything. Surveys. You've got to be so persistent that you stand out as the only choice. Like, you've literally got to flood them with messages, inboxes. I say it to these, and I used to say it to the sales team in the garage, like, I'd rather the customer tells you to fuck off than you don't follow up enough. I want you to be so persistent that they actually say, do you know what, like, enough's enough. Like, you've done, like, I'm not buying off you. Enough is enough. Fine. I'm happy with that, because then we've done absolutely everything we can. But the thing is, the more persistent that you are, you actually get a lot more. You get a lot more out of it, and you very rarely get, will you just back off? Because they're always interested. They wouldn't have engaged if they weren't interested. So you've got to be so persistent that you stand out as the only choice. So, you know, to pull it off, you need to be organized. You need good planning. You've got to be creative. You got to be strategic. Don't just constantly pitch. 80% of the stuff you send should just be value add without any expectations back. You got to be persistent, patient as well. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, some of these clients could take 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years sometimes to even convert. But if you stay with them, they will convert eventually. Obviously always be professional. Be very unbothered about the outcome. Don't think, will they find this offensive? Will they find this funny? Just don't care. Just send, worry about it later. Send, worry about it later. Even if you get a, I've had it recently trying to recruit people. I'm poaching them. I'm like, and they're just like, no. Like, okay. I always put, well, thanks for your response anyway. My door's always open. And what I always get from that is, oh, that's actually quite nice. Thank you very much. So, you've spun like someone being an arsehole into actually, maybe thinking, oh, well, actually he's probably an all right bloke to maybe work for. So be unreasonable. And what they mean by that is like, be unreasonable with yourself to be so committed that you're going to do all this stuff. You're going to be unreasonable that you're going to text, phone call, email, that you're going to do it every day, that you're going to, send all your stuff, even if they're saying, please, like, cool it off, you just keep going and going and going until they block you, which will be a very small percentage. For the amount of stuff you'll get out of it versus the amount that'll block you, you'll be very surprised. And number 10, be committed. If you're not committed to the strategy, don't just do it for 2 weeks and then give up because you've got no results. Every single lead, every single viewing that you go on, you have to put into a follow-up process, and it should be so organized that every single day for the next 365 days what you're going to do with that lead. And if you do it correctly, you will get a hell of a lot of results from it. So that's what I want to do. What I want to do, what sort of time do people need to shoot out of here? Any? Okay. So what we'll do is, if you all pull up a Google sheet, and then just put days 1 to 14 down the left. And then if you follow that slide on 22, so day 21, day 30, day 40, day 50, day 60, 75, 90, 100, 120, all the way through. And then what I want you to do is just start building out your actual follow-up sequence. So like, what are you going to do on day one? Day one's typically going to be a phone call. If they don't answer, a voicemail, and you're also going to send them a text or a WhatsApp. That's going to be probably day one. Then what does day 2 look like? What does day 3 look like? You'll probably want to, when you're getting into the creativeness, that's where you'll need to start researching stuff. So say like, find a blog that mentions about whatever the average tenancy void periods, that you can send them as a, hey, I just came across this and I thought of you. And then just plan it all out day after day after day. And hopefully you'll end up with a very robust sequence that you can just rely on, cut and paste, and you'll get better at it. You'll add more detail to it as you start putting leads through it all, because you'll see some things are working, some things are not working. You'll get engagement on some things, and you might just want to make your life a bit easier and start, linking up Word documents and things like that. But a lot of it is this multi-contact of phone, email, text, phone, email, text, phone, email, text. And if you do that right, you should end up with pretty spectacular results, in all fairness. Can everyone see the value in that? Yeah. Everyone, like, hands up who isn't doing that. I mean, the majority of people don't. The majority of people follow up 4, maybe 5 times at best. And, a lot of these landlords, they'll do viewings. Estate agents are, so bad at it. How many times have you been on a viewing, and then how many times have you been followed up by an estate agent to see if you want it? Once, maybe, at best. Sometimes not even once. So, had they just continually kept in touch with you, assuming you were a tenant, there's a good chance you would have moved into one of their properties or bought a property from them. But they just allow you to disappear into thin air, because it's easier for them to just go, oh, well, I've got another guy that's just walked through the door, so I'll just deal with them instead. And then another guy walks through. But if they actually just deal with everybody, they'd end up, being top salesperson in any industry, in any industry. So it's, it's a real powerful tool, but it'll only work if you are like organized and you've got all the data at hand. Because if you're spending hours having to go and find a blog or having to think creatively on your feet and you're getting all overwhelmed and frustrated and you've got to do like 10 of these a day because you've got 10 leads in your pipeline at the minute, you'd be like, oh, you end up just blowing up and thinking, I'm not doing this. Whereas, you know, we actually have on our CRM system, like follow-up stage, and we've got all the different days and then the next contact date. So if they're on like day 60, for example, we know the next contact date is day 75. So we pencil that in. When we get to that date, it goes task day 75 follow-up, and that's what you got to do because that's what you've set out. So that could be send a video message. Now, if you get really clever with it, you can actually upload a standard video message to YouTube, save it as a private video. And if you do it in a way that it sounds like it's meant for somebody, so you're not actually mentioning the name, so you're just like, hey, it's Ryan, just sending this video, blah, 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 blah. You can actually just set that up and just boom, just send them the link. So you're not having to shoot the video. You've already shot the video, but you've made it generic, but also made it feel like it's personal so that you can then just cut and paste the YouTube link. Hey, just thought I'd send you this. Oh, by the way, I've just sent you a video, you know, let me know what you think, you know. So that's how you'll make it work, because once your pipeline gets too busy or too full, if you're not organized, you'll just feel overwhelmed and you'll stop doing it. And that's why I want you to kind of build them out now, or at least give yourself a good head start on it so that you've got a template to work with. And then those that do want leads, send them to them. We can start driving leads to them. And then as long as I know they're getting followed up like this, then I know we're going to get business out of it at quite a high conversion rate, and we're not going to just be blowing money for the sake of blowing money.
What were the days? You talking about doing those consecutive days, or?
So have you got that document open? If you go to page 22, it says org plan creative. So the first 14 days, and then you'd go, and then it's 21 days, then 30 days, and then 40, 50, 60, and then it kind of goes on from there.
Okay.
So it's just a case of working with it.
So 21 start or what?
No, day 1 to 14 is every day. So if you actually go back up, it'll show you day 1, day 2.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you then need to like, I think it
so
skips a few days.
14 days.
But for the first 14 days, you should contact them every single day in some sort of format. You got to remember they take 12 touch points to make a decision.
Yeah.
So really what you're
14
saying there
days,
is,
like ring them and then send the text in, missed your call.
well, there's like the
That's
different things.
easy.
So like day 1, you'd probably ring and text and voicemail.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're getting a conversation with them. Day 2 could be, you know, if you do get into conversation with them and they give you, say, the postcode, or, you know, you can say, right, day 2 could be actual an offer. Day 3 might be, you know, sending a blog from the Loop Capital website on why landlords should work with us rather than with tenants. Day 4 could be a thought of you picture because you've walked down the street again. So it's just like everyone's going to be different, but it's about being creative on each one of those days, that you're not just constantly being like, are you going to give us your property or not? Are you going to give us your property or not? Are you going to give us, you know, it's got to be creative in the way that you're doing it, so that they always, whenever they see a contact from you, they're actually inclined to want to actually open it and read it, rather than, oh, here's another, I'm all ready to sign the contract yet email.
What's
15 in a row.
270? What's the chocolate boot? Or that an Americanism or something?
It's, yeah, so if I remember rightly, it's like a present, like a chocolate boot. And I think it was something like, I don't know, I'm sending you this to hopefully get you off your ass to do a deal or something like that. So it's just like, it's like a gimmick. It's like a creative gimmick. I'm not saying that we have to do these type of things, but you know, if I knew a portfolio landlord, if I was dealing with a portfolio landlord who had a lot of stock, I would be pulling out the stops and sending the gifts and sending, you know, for the sake of spending maybe 50 quid across the whole time of all this follow-up, you know, and going out your way, there's a good chance you're going to win that portfolio. Yeah. And, you know, and even like a personal visit, that's just one follow-up attempt. So then you'd still go back into next day, in back into your sequence.
One thing I started doing since using Pepper is you get into an engagement or a conversation with somebody on chat, and whenever I make a good response, I copy it and put it in a little library. So I think, oh, that was a good response. I'm going to keep that and use it again.
Yeah. There's a thing on Pepper called canned responses, I think.
Yeah, there is.
And you can just set up your template. So you just click a button and away it goes. We've got that on Zoho. So like, you know, you can actually set up template emails. So you might have like whatever your emails are for each day, you've actually got them set up. So you just click the button and send, or you can actually bulk send as well. So if you've got like 100 people at stage day 8, and you know day 8's a certain email and a certain text, you can just bang, gone. So then it's just so efficient. Within like 1 minute, you've just sent 200 different communications off, and you've ticked your day 8 box for those people, move them to day 9, and then you're on to the next day, and you just focus on the next day of people. So, and you just refer back to your creative follow-up and say, right, we need to do that, we need to do that, we need to do that. And by the end of the day, you're like, right, great, I've done all my follow-up. And what will happen is you will then start to get the inbound flow of, oh, thanks for that. Or actually, do you want to discuss that property now? Can we arrange a meeting? And then they're all the positive actions that you then get from the follow-up. But they can quite often go quiet. One of my favorites is actually just sending them a text, just, hey, I'm just bumping this to the top of your feed and just putting a little up arrow.
Wow.
And it just brings your message back to the top of their feed. It's a bit of a gimmick. It's quite quirky. Some people might find it funny. And sometimes it does just re-engage people. And, oh, I'm sorry I ignored you. I just got busy and blah, blah, blah. And because for me, people are not, the way I think of it is, people are not ignoring you. They just got busy. Like, how many times have you read a WhatsApp, forgot about it, and then like 3 days later you wake up at 2 a.m. and like, shit, I forgot to reply to them, and it's not because you didn't want to, it's just you got busy. Like, that's the world we live in. But I think a lot of people see getting ignored or no response back, and you've seen 2 blue ticks as, oh, they're not interested. Yeah. Well, they're not, they're just busy. And if you have that frame of mind, then you go back in with that sort of unemotional, relentless attitude of, I'm going to get business out of you. We are going to partner together. We're going to do something together. And I think if, love him or hate him, Grant Cardona's got probably one of the most profitable sales machines in his office in Miami, selling his Cardone Capital University thing, the Cardone University, which is where all this comes from. And like those agents are making like $800,000-$900,000 commissions from the stuff that they're selling, because it's just an absolute machine. And if you go on YouTube and watch the videos of it in action, you'll see it's just constant follow up. And all the different objection handlings and things like that, which is a skill set that you need to build in. But I think even if you're not very good at sales and you're not very good at it, or objection handling, if you just follow up, you're giving yourself such an advantage over everybody else, and you'll have the deal flow, no bother at all.